So something I see debated a lot is where faith plays with like this whole political landscape. And so I guess one of the questions I have is, do you think Jesus, as you understand him, would support Black Lives Matter?
Absolutely. No shadow of a doubt in my mind. Jesus, this is core to who Jesus is. I think that what's really difficult about asking that type of question, or looking for a response to that type of question more so, is the issues are intersecting and diverging in so many different ways.
Right.
And people are expressing themselves differently. You know, protesting is critical. It's an important part of it. Peaceful protesting, silent protest with a knee, all these different types and different expressions. And then you've got other elements, like when does that protesting evolve to rioting? What about the looting? And what happens is it all gets grouped together. And so that's also true for Black Lives Matter. They're dangerous elements. Like, we want white people to be completely oppressed. That's a dangerous.
No, to Jesus, no.
To Jesus, no.
Okay.
Jesus doesn't want that to happen. Okay, I promise you. All right. Then there's other elements. We want complete anarchy or chaos. Have people under the flag of Black Lives Matter said that or wanted that? They have. Would Jesus want that? Absolutely not. Jesus wants equality. And I don't feel it robbery for me to speak as an authority on what Jesus would or would not want. But I do think it's fair for us to accept this truth. Under any national flag, you've got different people groups that represent all types of different cultural experiences, but they fly a single flag for their country or for their nation, like in America, in the United States, because it represents a theme. And that theme is a land of the free and the home of the brave.
So like if we were to ask the question, would Jesus support America? It's like, yes, if America means land of the free and it stands for these things, but also no if America means some of the other things that are not so.
Would Jesus stand with the flag of Black Lives Matter? Absolutely. Are there things that hang that flag up and participate in an idea under that flag that doesn't accurately reflect that theme in general? There's parts that he wouldn't accept or parts that he wouldn't support.
So what would you say to the skeptic who's like, okay, I see that Jesus cares about people, but it's associating themselves with people who are doing negative things that have like these non-Christian principles or something along those lines? Because I get the sense that for some people of faith, unless you're like exactly like us, Jesus wouldn't stand with you.
Yeah, and that's very dangerous. It's a very dangerous position to take, and I'll tell you why. When you look at the historical figure, Jesus Christ, just a historical perspective, the records that are available to us, whether it's the Christian holy writings, the Bible, or other passed down oral traditions that have been recorded about his life, okay? You're looking at someone who had an affinity for the disenfranchised and the marginalized. Leprosy was something that was an absolutely ravishing disease that people lived in leper colonies. They were marginalized instead of being treated. Okay, religious leaders would say this person needs to be cut off from their families to stem the spread of leprosy. Some parts of that were right, but a lot of it was wrong. The way they were treated, they were untouchable. Did leprosy lives matter to Jesus? Absolutely. He touched the untouchable. Okay. Then you look about women in that society. It was a patriarchal society. Women were often overlooked and underserved in terms of authority and support and resources and identity. Did women's lives matter to Jesus? Absolutely. You would find him talking and working with women in ways. The first people to tell everyone that Jesus rose from the grave, it was women. This is the nature of his work.
Yeah, I mean, as I'm thinking about this, I even think of people like the centurion, you know, someone who is maybe a symbol to many people of oppression and all these things. But Jesus,
for people of that day,
right? Yeah. But Jesus still cared about that person's life as well.
Absolutely, the centurion's life mattered.
And so for Jesus, perhaps the standing with someone wasn't necessarily an endorsement of everything, but simply a statement about the value of that human being.
Yeah. Do you think Jesus was saying, listen, I stand with this centurion for all of the pain that he has inflicted on other people?
Right.
Absolutely. That's not what Jesus was doing.
Mm-mm.
And it's not what he was doing with women or children or lepers or any person that had been marginalized in that culture. He spent his time with the other, the marginalized. He was attracted to them. And I think it's significant to note this, Justin, and it's important to note it. It cost him to do that. People reviled him. Jesus was not a popular character in the sense that everyone loved him. The man was crucified. Okay, he was killed.
Yeah, 'cause I think about that, how interesting that even like the religious leaders of that day like seemed to miss the very heart of Jesus himself.
They
how
totally.
the religious leaders who are supposed to have clear insight as to what God would do in a particular situation found themselves on the very opposite side of truth in that moment.
Yeah, they accuse Jesus of being the wrong kind of person. They say, what are you doing with that person? That's not our person. And Jesus said, yeah, but it's my person.
Yeah, because they said, you're a friend of sinners.
Yeah, Jesus said,
He's
of course I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm here for. and not just sinners, those that were marginalized,
For sure.
the rich and the poor and the healthy and the unhealthy, people that were immigrants and people that were nationals, all of them. I can think of something that has really impacted my journey. In 2005, I was invited to speak somewhere. And this is before the dawn of Facebook, which I wish I had invested in then, because my wife was like, you should get on Facebook. Like, for what? I don't want to do that. And as dumb as I was, I missed the mark. Yeah. So listen to your wife or your partner. Okay.
There you go. By the way, you should get on TikTok.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. John, get on TikTok. There you go. So, I got an invitation. Someone referred me and to speak at this event, and the hosting organization reached out to me, and I said, sure. And they said, could you email over your biographical sketch and a picture so we can begin advertising? Sure. Sent it over. No problem. It's pretty routine for me. Got word back, hey, could you send a tape of you speaking somewhere? YouTube wasn't as strong then. It was there, but I said, sure, no problem. I can do that. Then I got another request. Could you send us the script of what you're going to say when you come? I'm like, boy, this is getting really strange. Like,
sounds like they're vetting you a little bit more and more and more.
Yeah. And I didn't understand what was happening. So ultimately I got a call after all of this. We're going to have to change our plans. We've had some adjustments. We don't want you to come and speak. I was like, okay, that sucks. But that's your prerogative. Had no idea until several weeks later. I got a call from the host, the person that I had been speaking to, and he's crying on the phone. You could hear it, just sobbing. And I said, man, what the heck is up with this guy? This is so weird. And he said, I am so sorry. We invited you to speak on a recommendation, and we did not know you were black.
Oh.
Had never experienced
He said those words?
And he was a religious leader. It was a faith gathering. It was in a rural part of the United States in the South. And they were willing to take the recommendation for me to speak, but they didn't know I was black. So he said to me, what I'd like to do, first, I'm sorry. I listened to the people that I serve who were organizing this event. I caved in, and I'd like to still invite you to speak. And I want you to come, but I want you to know that no one is going to be here. But I'd like to sit, and I'd like to hear you speak. I'll get you here. I'll pay for whatever that takes. But please do that, because what I did was wrong. I shouldn't have given in on this. It cost Jesus to do what he did. It didn't cost him a little. It cost him everything, reputation and life. I'm not asking you to do all of that, but let me tell you what this one person did for my life and for my journey. I went there. He invited as many people as he could. Not many people came. They could all fit on one bench or row in that facility. And I spoke. He decided to advocate for me, for my voice, for my sense of self, for who I am, at a great cost to him. He went on to thrive. He's doing very well here in the United States, serving in other capacities. But he gave me something that I did not have up until that point. He gave me hope that there is another side, but everyone on that other side isn't saying the same thing. And it helped me understand that it's going to always be worth taking some kind of stand to move this thing forward.
Yeah.
That changed my life. That's what Jesus did. And that's why I know he would support Black Lives Matter. Justin, when it all comes down to it, I have a lot of pain as a black man. I cry sometimes. Sometimes I don't want my wife to see it. Even now, I can feel my emotions welling up because it's a painful experience to be who I am just because I was born in this skin. One poet said, if I could have made a choice, I wouldn't have chosen this. But that pain, I don't want it to stop me. I lead from that pain. I recently did a several-part series called Leading From Your Pain over at Max Life Events. And in that series, I talk about how I overcame the rejection of being adopted, the traumatic brain injury from a near-fatal car accident, infertility in my life. For an adopted person, that's a big deal because you grow up and you want to have kids. And I deal with all of this and that. And on top of all of that pain, I'm black. Okay. And, but I don't talk about the black experience as much. I talk about the pain experience because that's universal. And, over at Max Life Events in that series, I think that I'm dealing with the core of what we all face. And if we can lead from that place, we can experience what it means to overcome it and be a light for others that experience the same.